You're both bringing Pixar back to the big screen, which is very exciting. In the age of streaming, what, in your opinion, makes Lightyear cinematic?
Well, I think a lot of the staging and the sense of the scope of the film is cinematic. The lighting is certainly, I mean, cinematic is an odd term. It can mean many things. But for us, a lot of the narrative is intended to be seen with an audience to experience it collectively. Much like a comedy is very much that way, you want to feel the electricity of the audience. And so the cinematic experience benefits this film tremendously to get to see with an audience, having seen it alone a lot and then seeing it with an audience this week. Sure. It's been a huge boost. It's been really exciting.
Oh, that's great.
Seeing it big. It's an immersive experience. Like, you want to feel like you're in space, right? With Buzz and the team. And so, the bigger you can see it, the better.
The bigger and louder. Try to go big and loud. Yeah.
Well, on that note, you're clearly fans of Interstellar. I saw some similarities, but also I really loved Izzy Hawthorne's Spacewalk. Not to give too much away. What a great scene. Were there any sci-fi movies that inspired you, that you took inspiration from?
For the movie, absolutely. Mostly the ones from 1977 to 1987, and then one from 1990, and then one from 1991, and then one from 99. Oh, okay, yeah. So it was it was like, Star Wars, and then Raiders, and Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Road Warrior, RoboCop. That is Star Trek, Aliens. Like, it's mainly kind of post Star Wars classic 80s sci-fi, that kind of sensibility to the movie. And there's a lot of it.
And also thrillers.
Yeah, but mostly structurally it's thrillers. It's like a thriller movie. Yeah.
Also, Socks is such a great character. How did you come to cast fellow Pixar director Peter Sohn as his voice? What made you two want to use him in such a large role? And he's fantastic.
Well, we worked with Peter for years. He did a robot voice for us in Toy Story of Terror. And I think that what's great about Peter is he is naturally a very friendly and warm character, but also he's a terrific performer and knows how to deliver that earnestness while also being able to act really well with it. And he was our scratch voice, or our temporary voice for the character. But we knew pretty quickly that it was going to be hard to beat. It's not the first movie he's done a voice for. He's done several voices. He was Emil in Ratatouille, and he was Squishy in Monsters University. But he is such a gifted performer, and he's so funny and so endearing. Like, the way that everyone feels about Socks is the way that we feel about Peter as a person. So it's like, it's kind of hard to, so you kind of know what if you could just make Peter, like, Peter was kind of the inspiration for Russell in Up. In fact, he would have been the voice for Russell from Up if he didn't sound like a 35-year-old dude. Like, so that was like, he's amazing. So yeah.
That's great. He's so beloved from the Pixar team. What a nice gift that you gave him.
Yeah.
So also, it must be a ton of pressure for both of you to flesh out a character as iconic and as popular as Buzz Lightyear. What was the exploratory process like? Like, we got to make this guy real.
Right.
Well, we first looked at after pitching the idea and getting the studio to buy off on it, went back and rewatched Toy Story, and I'm like, I don't know if the audience can handle an hour and a half of let's go charge the hill. So we had to figure out a way to take the side character and make him a main character. And one of the big things was making him having an emotional hook, an emotional understanding of what was driving him and why he was doing what he was doing. He could be funny, but he couldn't be as dumb, honestly, as the other Buzz. He had to have faults that made him make bad decisions, but we had to understand that it was hubris that was driving his poor choices, or his driven nature that was making him be oblivious to certain truths that would be obvious to other people. So in taking a side character to a main character, we ended up adjusting certain things, and that's where Chris really came into it. Chris Evans brought a gravitas and a more of an action hero voice that was appropriate for the kind of tone movie we were doing, where we knew he could also do comedy that would not undercut the drama of the thriller that we were going to be presenting.
And heart.
Yes.
He can.
Definitely.
A lot of emotion into his voice, and I just think that's wonderful.
Well, also rookies are a big part of the story. very
Mhm.
funny. I thought that was great. And, Angus, you're stepping up to direct your first feature at Pixar. And, you're taking a chance on him, Galen. What do you think this movie says about rookies, and how does that mirror both of your own experience working on this movie?
Well, I think there's a lot of buzz and point of view on rookies that I share, but also like Buzz, I started at the studio at 21. So I think for me, I'm growing up in that culture and that environment and learning what needs to be learned. I mean, it's funny that it takes so long to make an animated film, but it requires so much experience and collaboration with the team. I don't know. I don't think I have a good answer for this, Grace. I'm sorry. I'm realizing
That's okay.
And it never felt like taking a risk for me. I mean,
Oh,
Angus
yeah.
and I have worked on
Aw.
a lot of projects together,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's brilliant. I admire him. I wouldn't want to produce anybody else. Yeah.
Oh, a lot of love over there at Pixar.
There's
I
a
love
lot of
it.
it just yes, it is my first solo feature, but I did start it 40 years ago. So this takes a while.
You weren't kidding about taking a long time to make
It
animated
does take a
movies.
long time, yeah. This is where the story comes from. The time jumps is just a metaphor for a production process at Pixar. That when that like you want to write what you know, it's like, well, what we know was every 4 years I go home and go, wait a minute, this doesn't feel like home. Like you can kind of never go back to your childhood home. And when you only see it once a year, or you take these times off, you're so focused on a movie, you often lose sight of connection. And that
That's
really is the
interesting.
spirit of the movie. Yeah.
My final question for you is that we live in a very divisive time these days. And, I think that Lightyear has a strong message that I really appreciated. But what do you say to people, as they walk into the theater to see Lightyear? What do you hope they experience and take away from it?
One of the things about watching a movie in a theater is the communal experience, and that you can come from all different backgrounds with all different ideas and all different opinions, and yet share one experience together and have the same kind of response and reaction. And I think it's easier to point fingers, and it's easier to be divisive when all you're doing is seeing little boxes that represent people. And I really hope that people come in and have that wonderful experience together and enjoy the neighbor sitting next to them, even if they don't agree politically.
That's
Oh,
great.
that's a good answer. I was just gonna say I hope they think the movie's awesome, but I like that one better. Should go
That's
with
great.
what she said. That's great.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I really
you.
enjoyed the
You.
movie.
Thank you so much.